I like to solve one very hard problem for a very long time. Getting things to you quickly is just something I've always loved. Like, I got goosebumps the first time I used Postmates. I just couldn't believe it. It's just someone brought me coffee. And the amount of bandwidth reduction on doing things is just so high when you can just like hit a button and something happens.
Does this solve the kind of problem where why isn't there an Uber for screwdrivers?
It's too slow and too expensive per delivery. We define hyperlogistics as the ability to get something delivered in under 10 minutes for a de minimis cost. We usually say like less than a quarter. And once you achieve that, then there's this huge explosion of value creation that's possible.
Garrett, it is awesome to talk to you again. So you're one of the co-founders of Pipedream, and I think over the past like 3-ish years, something like that, you've been gone through a whole bunch of different iterations on what you call like, enabling hyperlogistics.
Yeah.
Can you explain what hyperlogistics actually is?
Yeah, so we define hyperlogistics as the ability to get something delivered in under 10 minutes for a de minimis cost. We usually say like less than a quarter, but just like so low that you don't think about it. And then the ability to, as easily as you receive from that system, you can send back. And what that enables is bi-directional, super fast, basically teleportation of things to you, teleportation of things back. And what we think is it unlocks a new level of commerce where you start to treat objects like you do data on the internet, where you get things delivered when you need them, you use them, and when you're done with them, you send them back. And we think it's going to unleash all sorts of, in the long term, I think it is the number one increase in GDP from that system. So that's what we're working towards.
How'd you like come up with that vision? Because I imagine, there's a bunch of different companies that have just kind of like tried to enable, a better, delightful customer experience with buying lots of stuff.
Yeah.
What was the initial like idea that you thought of? And what's been the kind of transition from the first iteration of like the drone idea to what you have today?
Yeah. So after college, I took 2 years off. I did some other stuff, but long story short, I had 2 years where I was like, you know what? I learned a lot about going 0 to 1, and I learned enough about myself to know that I like to solve one very hard problem for a very long time. That's what makes me just innately happy. And so I decided, you know what? I need to take some serious time and decide what that problem is. The thing that is at the intersection of a problem that is worth solving for a long time and has a long time of solve in it, and something that I wake up every day, and if I fail for 20 years, I'm just so happy I was working on that problem because I care about that so much. And so looked at a lot of things during those 2 years, and getting things to you quickly is just something I've always loved. Like, I remember the first time I got goosebumps the first time I used Postmates, and like, I just couldn't believe it. It's just someone brought me coffee, and it was the sickest thing. I was like, oh my gosh.
When was that?
2015 maybe? It was in Oklahoma City, so I think Postmates took a while to get there.
Yeah.
The first time I used it, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I remember the first time I used an Uber. That was magical. I berated the guy. I sat in the front seat and I just berated the guy with like, okay, how much money are you making? How's this work? What are the problems? Like,
you wanted
just
to
the fact that I could
it?
hit a button and a car comes and takes me is like, oh, this is insane. The amount of bandwidth reduction on doing things is just so high when you can just like hit a button and something happens. I remember the first time I used Amazon. I was at a friend's house and he ordered something. I was like, that's going to be here next week. Like, this whole library of things is just going to like, you can send these things to you. That's crazy. And I just like, I knew that's something that I loved. It's also, it's one of those things that we forget about it, but like every time you make delivery things faster, it impacts society in such positive ways. And it changes our lives in so many ways, and we forget about it.
Yeah.
If someone tomorrow took away next day Amazon, it went back to 2 days or like even 3 days. Like, the amount that impacts my life is huge. The amount that impacts my startup is huge. The amount we rely on Amazon being able to fulfill our orders by next day is crazy. Like, there's so many shortcuts we can take because we know we have reliable access to something by the next day. Yeah, totally. And so that's what I realized. Like, you know what? That is at the intersection of, I think there is so much progress left to be had there. We've been, over the last like 20 years, there's been only kind of incremental improvements. Like, even Amazon is kind of very, very hard what they do. But it's really kind of an incremental improvement. I would say like Uber Eats and DoorDash, not quite a step change, a little bit. That was also incremental. and even those had huge impacts. And it's just like, man, we have so much room left between Amazon and Uber Eats and where the future will be. That's what I want to focus on. I was like, okay, like clearly autonomous logistics will be here at some point, right? And to me, it was like, that's the bet that I want to take. Like autonomous logistics, it is, for the impact it's going to have, there are so few people working on it. And to this day, I can't believe it, how few people are working on autonomous logistics relative to the impact it's going to have. And in that exploration, because I had 2 years to think about it, we realized that like once you achieve autonomous logistics, there's this new stage of logistics that comes right after that is quickly enabled. There was a name for it. We named it Hyperlogistics. And once you achieve that, then there's this huge explosion of value creation that's possible.
Do you expect that like people's kind of frequency of just ordering things on the spot is just going to go way up? And so instead of having a cart with 10 items, you just buy a toothbrush and it shows up in 15 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah, toothbrush.
Maybe not a toothbrush, but
Yeah, I mean, it's, you probably don't keep toothbrushes. Like right now, I have backup toothbrushes. I buy them in big packs. Probably don't do that as much. I think I think you can go for a higher quality toothbrush. Just get them as you need them. But I think where it really impacts are things where you go to order on Amazon and you pause, or you go to order on Uber Eats and you pause. Those things stop becoming pauses. You execute them immediately. For instance, like clothes buying on the internet. Instead of really rigorously looking at all the things that you might want to buy and thinking about, well, would that fit me? Would that look good? You just order everyone that looks good. You can send them all to you, right? Because it's so cheap to get them to you. Try them on in your house, and then 10 minutes later,
pack them back up and
send them back.
just throw them in a box.
And just like keep the one that you want, and then after you wear it that night, you can keep it. Or what I think is like, you'll create these really efficient ecosystems where you're like, if I ever want to wear that again, I'll just have it delivered again, send it back, right? And clothes become a subscription, and you never wear anything twice. And like me and you are wearing like super high quality shirts because it's just like we're not paying full value for these. And that's true of content, right? Like the amount of access that you had to even like something as small as songs. Like someone who is really rich, their iPod had orders of magnitude more songs than someone who was poor, right? Their iPod would have, I remember this. I had 15 songs on my iPod, and I was like saving for the songs, man. And I just go through them. I just had 15 songs. I think I got I got it off Amazon, or maybe it was eBay. I think it was eBay. I got like remember the iPod that would clip on you?
Yeah.
I got a knockoff one of those that was basically just like a flash drive and just had like a play pause button. I got one of those and I had 15 songs and I was like feeling good, right? And then like you think about today, and everyone has access to all the same songs
with Spotify.
Yeah. And I think the same thing happens with objects. It's a little harder to think about because we think about objects as having like this finite value, right? Like the distribution cost of songs with the internet is way higher, but I don't think the delta is that big.
Does this solve the kind of problem where it's like, why isn't there an Uber for screwdrivers? Because it's just too complex and it's like doesn't make sense.
It's too slow and too expensive for delivery.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're looking at like $12 to get that screwdriver delivered. So that's a huge delta on top of the screwdriver. Then if you want to send it back, it's another $12. So you're $24 in, and it's like I could have had a really nice screwdriver for $24. Yeah, totally. It just doesn't make any sense. It barely makes sense for food. Barely, but even that is huge. Like people pay a huge premium on food to have that delivered because it is so convenient. So once we drop that cost, I mean, for food, it's going to go crazy.
Yeah. Just fresh food every day kind of thing.
Yeah, fresh food every day. Yeah, totally. Whatever you need when you need it. You make the decision where you're going to eat in the moment. Your pantry becomes what's available on the internet. Like you don't have a pantry, right? You're real timing chips to you.
Everything.
I think so. And that's not true of everything. Like you'll want to buy eggs in the dozen probably because it's nice to have an egg available instantaneously. Like that 10-minute delta means something. I think there's like items of obviously like sentimental significance. that you want to have. I think there's things that are too personal. I'm not going to like rent underwear.
Right.
But you know, maybe I get those items. Laundry service starts to make a lot more sense when sending it to the laundromat, or what I think there'll be like a cloud hub for those kind of services where you send your clothes in a bag, they get washed, they send back to you folded, because the cost of logistics is the only thing holding that business back. So yeah, like TVs, electronics, like those kind of things, you're not going to rent. But I think the amount of things that you do rent
Just goes drastically up.
Because the access to quality, how much more quality those things are when you can rent them when you need them versus if you buy them at full price, it is so much higher.
Interesting. Okay, so we are sitting in, I think, your like first distribution center.
Yeah.
And right now it's just a warehouse, and I think you got this like a week ago or two.
Yeah.
But you know, what's it like? You know, getting this first place, and what's going to happen?
I mean, getting someone to lease us commercial real estate it's always so tough for startups, and it's always, every time you pull it off, it's like a little miracle.
Did you go through other leases like that just didn't pan out at all? What was that like?
What we wanted was a fulfillment center of significant size, that we could turn into what we call an RFC, a rapid fulfillment center, right? We want anything stored in here to be able to be parallel picked, that order combined, and out the door in under 3 minutes. And so there's some things that we needed special, but we also want to put the first portals in the parking lot. So we wanted something where this location is north of downtown in Austin. There's 30,000 people who go by every day, right outside. So like finding somewhere that is well trafficked and a good demographic, because you know this is
difficult. I imagine
these portals are basically going to be like our first store, right? So you want a fulfillment center in the city that is close to the right demographic. They don't build fulfillment centers, so it was tough. There were very few spaces that actually worked, and then of the ones that did work, fulfillment centers are zoned for. I mean, you can build like 10-story hotels on top of the fulfillment centers. So the land is so valuable. So like, especially in Austin where it's booming, like people don't want to lock up a space for 5 years. And then if they are going to lock it up for 5 years, they do not want to give it to a startup. Especially one doing something that, in their minds is way too crazy, never going to work. And so it was super hard, so tough.
And it's just not it's not even quite like a distribution center, because a distribution center you can kind of just throw wherever because you have the trucks arriving, but you're actually going to have people picking up their groceries, I believe, from the portals outside. So they kind of needs to be in the proximity.
It needs to be in a really good retail location. So you need a fulfillment center and a retail location.
Right.
And also like this is going to be the where we build the network out from. So it needed to be within where we wanted to build the network. So in the future, we're going to build the RFCs outside the city and then come in. But for this one, we wanted to make sure that we were able to put the first portals in the parking lot really quickly, and wanted to be in the good location. So it was like the parameters we were working with were tight.
Yeah.
But we found like multiple places that worked, and then it was just
the discussions,
convincing people to let us do it. So we did end up, I think we ended up with everyone that we wanted eventually did come around to letting us do it. But
was it like a month plus of negotiation and talking with people?
It was probably like 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah. But I mean, Cannon's so good at it, my co-founder, of talking to people, and another tricky thing about this spot in particular is we are taking up a lot of the parking lot for our portals, and kind of like all the traffic needs you need for the portals. We're putting 3 portals, so it's a pretty big. We're building this beautiful canopy over them as well, because we really want this to be like a showpiece. Which means we are taking parking lot spaces from our neighbors who are used to the parking spaces. So we had to convince them, and they're great. Like, we got so lucky with our neighbors. But a lot of things to make this work. A lot of things had to happen on extremely tight timelines. Exactly right. Had to be super well coordinated. We have this Gantt chart that's just like huge, and all these things had to happen at exactly the right sequence. They were all blocked by each other. And I was just like, our team can just go demon mode when we need
Yeah.
to, and like we have to have this thing. So let's like
It's not
throw
only Elon, it's
everything
actually
on
the
it.
entire team going demon mode.
Totally, yeah,
right.
yeah. Every individual person can do their own version of demon mode.
Do you want to explain kind of what like an Otter is, what this distribution center will look like, and then what an Otter, what a portal, and then also instant pickup, just so people know what those are?
Yeah, totally. So Pipedream, what we made is a system that can get things from point to point in a city really, really quickly. So we have the robots, we call them Otters. They can carry, it is a tote about yay big. It's the Walmart standard tote. That's like, so what Walmart uses for their e-commerce, that's what we're using for this. And the Otter holds it and can go through our underground network at 100 miles an hour. So we build these pipes that go underground, and at 100 miles an hour, they can bring things to our above ground kiosk that we call portals, and deploy the payload there.
And these are just like places where you can pull up with a car, and it's a little bit like a bank, has the money, disposable money, and you just like roll down your window, throw the groceries in your car, and drive away.
Exactly. So if an ATM is a tiny bank, right, a portal is a tiny store. Yeah. So that's the way we think about it. A portal, you can do all the functions of what a store is, a modern store is now. Stores have become warehouses that are in the city and well positioned, right? And you get things delivered from those stores. You can go and pick up stuff at those stores, and then you can also shop in those stores. The problem with those stores is that using them as a warehouse naturally reduces the experience of the in-person shoppers, right? If you really do it right.
Yeah.
So no one wants to make that consolidation, even though pickup and delivery are their fastest growing verticals. So they are still making consolidations for the in-person shopper. I think in the future, like it's very clear that pickup and delivery are going to be the only two methods that we shop with. So our thought was, really the future of stores should be focused on how do you make pickup and delivery as fast and as good as possible.
Yeah.
So that's what the portal's designed for. It's either hand off to a delivery driver, hand off to a person, hand off to a drone, hand off to a sidewalk robot. They are both stores that you can come pick up from if you're a human being, but they're also a distribution node. So they are essentially a micro-fulfillment center.
Is part of the thinking, eventually if you do integrate with Walmart or something, it's just like hot swapping your technology into their system because it's the same tote kind of thing? Is that
for sure.
Yeah.
It's a very standard tote. So there's a lot of retailers that use that tote. So that's how we landed on which tote to use. Amazon is an outlier, but their tote fits in the system, but it's like a little different dimension. But
slightly smaller.
Everyone's using about the same tote. Because once you reach that tote size, I think it's 99.6% of items fit within that tote by volume. So it's kind of a suspiciously large tote. You can fit a lot of things in there. So like a 60-pound dog food bag fits, 48 pack of water, 24 pack of toilet paper fits in the tote.
How'd the evolution of like the Pipedream idea from getting, minimizing the amount of time to actually shipping products all over the place to people, how did you kind of think through the process at the beginning of what you were initially ideating on, and then how'd that change over time?
Yeah. What we are doing now is outside of one difference, which we can get into, this RFC, and then sending things to the portals is what was in our very, very first pitch deck. It's a cold start problem. It's a huge cold start problem. It's like massive. Like, how do you cold start that? So the first thing we did is like, we just need to get something in the ground. So for year one, we permitted an in-city system in Georgia, and we said, we just need to everyone thinks we cannot do it.
And that was like the Wendy's partnership, right?
Or no, this was
even
with
before
the city.
That. Okay.
So it was like a mile long
crazy
system in Georgia. We started construction on it before we had finished the first version of the tech. And so we were making a lot of tech decisions on the fly, but permitted in 2 weeks, built the system. It was going from inside a retail store to inside an office building, and taught us a lot about what matters in the system, What does throughput look like? How fast can you really get these things to go? How easy is this to construct? Because we had confidence based on the heuristics of underground pipe is not difficult to put in, but it's like we've also never done it, so we're just going off the word of other people. So gave us a ton of confidence in underground construction. It gave us a lot of confidence in permitting because we were able to permit that one in 2 weeks.
Was that like a false positive? Did the other permitting end up being easier or harder than
No,
that
permitting's
initial?
always been
It's been
easy.
roughly pretty easy.
Yeah.
And is that because you're bootstrap or like hopping on top of the like whole sewage, system?
Yeah, it's just like for underground
water.
infrastructure,
Yeah.
there are known pathways to permitting.
It's not the same as like drone delivery where it's just like extremely difficult to get the air permits and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's like if you were doing drone delivery 8-9 years from now,
Yeah.
is what underground permitting is now.
Right now.
Whereas like there's due process, but it's not much because it's underground infrastructure. Because
It's
the nice thing
overcomable.
about what's that?
It's like overcomable.
I wouldn't say it's overcomable.
Okay.
It's a process.
Okay.
The process to put in underground pipes is just a process that everyone's aware of. There are, decades of stipulations that every city's put in. There are well-worn pathways. So doing it is a known process. Whereas with drones, that's a new technology.
Yeah.
Pipes are not a new technology. So drones, we're all building kind of what does that regulation look like. And then once we land on that, then there's, due process. The difference a little bit is, and I'm the biggest drone fan in the world. They're going to be massive. People are underestimating their impact. To this day, underestimating by maybe 1 to 2 orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
Cannot believe that people are still underestimating them.
I think it's one of those things where people just thought that it would kind of be the obvious future and it just hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of like, oh, well, is it actually the future if it's, we don't see it every day?
Yeah, totally.
But-
it's that adoption curve. They're in the valley of, what's it called? Valley of
Disillusionment or something?
Yeah. But that disillusionment is creating a lot of opportunity that I can't believe no one's tackling right now. Neither here nor there. We should get back to that though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's totally different. The amount of impact that underground work has on a city is everyone knows is minimized, especially because we tell cities we're only doing horizontal directional drill. We won't trench. So you probably saw some of these machines. There's some on the road right now. They just sit on the sidewalk and they dig underground and they pop up
Yeah, it's basically like
1,000
proof rock.
feet to
Yeah.
What's that?
It's like the big, boring co.
It's like
things,
that, but
except for
the smaller.
Yeah.
You start with this and then you grab what is basically it increases the bore size.
Mhm.
So you go with something that's like this big, a rod this big. It goes underground, comes up. You grab that whole extender. It's called a reamer, and then you pull it through, and that creates your hole. And then you push it through one more time. You grab the pipe and you pull it through. And so cities know that's not going to cause problems. You can do it 24/7. They don't care. And there's no once it's underground, there's really nothing it can't hurt anybody. So these are really low stakes permits to approve. So I think that's probably the biggest misnomer people have is just as many times, and we've done it 6 or 7 times now.
It's actually not that complicated.
No, it's never taken more than 3-4 weeks.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you think about from going from an empty warehouse to actually turning on, the first distribution center? What does that look like? How long is that going to take?
So we're gonna the biggest problem has been finding our anchor tenant. Because every network, it needs kind of that killer app.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've been working with retailers on the instant pickup side. So instant pickup is the system that we put in that is not part of the network. It just makes your pickup faster on your own location. Yeah. So we have one in a Steak and Shake in Arlington. We have some more that we're putting in. And through that, we've been able to work with pretty much every big retailer we wanted to, which has been super nice. And so we've gotten a lot of face time with them. And our original thesis was, let's work with one of them. Let's not try to do too much. We want to be base level infrastructure. Let's work with one of them to be that anchor tenant. From working with them, we realized that, I don't think on a network like this, anyone's going to care about as much about the customer as
As
we
you
are.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we realized that like these bigger incumbents are not set up to be the anchor tenant on a network. What it really takes is someone who is so laser focused on this type of customer experience and creates a business specifically focused on taking advantage of like what this network gives you, and just really tightly iterating around what autonomous logistics can give the customer and what the customer wants from autonomous logistics, and just like really tightly focusing on that feedback loop. And so this is something that we kind of realized right when we started, but it was just like, don't want to. So let's try not to. Let's go, try to work with the
It's like the
incumbents.
more painful path, right? If you're not plugging into someone else's.
It's a more painful path, and I think when we started, we considered it to be a more risky path. And then over the last year and a half, we realized that we actually think it's the less risky path. That having full ownership over that feedback loop is where all the value is going to get created. And so, like, ultimately, we do want to create the network. That is what we're focused on. I to this day, I think the vast majority of Pipedream's value over the next 10, 20 years is going to come from fulfillment, right? Operating like a 3PL, people plugging into the network, delivering on it, like all that volume is where most of the value is going to be created. But I think to kickstart that, like doing that first party retail ourselves is what is going to grow the network the fastest. Yeah. Really, I think it was maybe like 6 or 7 months ago. The real kicker came when we decided like we absolutely have to do that, is when we started to run the numbers on per portal. If we're doing first party retail, we're running our own retailer, how many orders a day per portal do we need to go ROI positive on the network? And we realized it's 42 orders.
Oh, that's not a lot at all.
No, and that's to cover,
how many can one portal do per hour? Like how many, swaps? It only takes like a few minutes, right?
I mean, we've got it down to like someone can drive up, grab it, and go. And so depending on it really depends on how much someone lingers. That's the choke point, not anything on the tech side. Like we've got that thing snappy.
After you get your groceries, it'll just like pop up a little screen saying, "All right, now you need to leave." Something.
We'll see. Right now, we haven't found that people linger that much. If we need to, we will though. But I mean, people are like, you're using that to go quickly, right? It's kind of like people don't linger at a drive-through. You have like this social pressure. If there's someone behind you, you're like, okay, I don't want to like linger here. I'll go and do my thing over there. So I don't think people linger as much as you think they do. Yeah. But I mean, like you probably the fastest you ever goes like 150. It's like a 15-second interaction. Then you assume there's like 15 seconds on both sides for people to linger. But we want to get that as close to that 15-second interaction as possible. So there's some I guess we can talk about it. So on the portals out here, when someone comes for the first time, we offer them a right now you have to use your phone to like say that you're here, right? It's such annoying friction. Yeah. Anytime you have to like pull out your phone to like say I'm here, super annoying. And there's 3 lanes. We got to know which lane you're in. And so the first time someone comes, we're offering them a small RFID tag that they can put on their windshield. And so that we can see that as soon as they enter the property, we know that they're here. We get their order out to there so that by the time that they pull into that portal, it is out by the portals. And as soon as they pull into a lane, in the next 20 seconds, we've got the first one coming through, and they don't have to touch anything. They just get out of their car, grab their groceries, and pull away.
Crazy.
So we're gonna cut as much friction and non-joy out of that experience as possible. And then at the same time, like one of the things that we were most focused on is because we're creating this kind of new store, that there's not really like a human touch point.
Yeah.
Right. There's no human in the loop. How do you inject more humanity into the experience?
More like delight.
More delight. Yeah. How do you make it feel more craft and more human? And like you can go to a museum, and if that museum was empty and there was no people in there, it still feels like a human experience. It's just like there's so much intention and like humanity in there that is like, reflecting back at you. Yeah. And so I think it is, if you're going to build an automated system, you need to build as much humanity back into that system as possible.
So are you almost trying to think like, I mean, I don't know if this is the right way to look at it, but like almost a less futuristic-y thing? Because I imagine that the more futuristic-y is like less human in the loop. It's just a robot doing it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we debate the yeah, and I think Cannon's right here, but me and Cannon debate about how much of the story of the interaction is like the robot and the tech.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I may be a little too aggressively the wrong way. I like take it all out. I just want that thing to appear.
Yeah.
Who cares how it happened, right? And I want it to just be so joyous.
You just want it to be kind of like a magical experience.
Totally.
Right.
Totally, yeah. And I think like Cannon's more right. Like I think the how it happens is an important thing. Like if you were at like a bank tube's a good example of like it's kind of like a magical experience. Like when the bank tube comes and your little like capsule comes out.
Yeah.
That's so fun. If you made all that pipe opaque, it wouldn't be as fun.
No.
Even if you knew how it happened, it just wouldn't be as fun. So I think like there's a blend of how much do you expose how it happens to the customer and how much you know, you shouldn't rely on that. And I think that's the key is you don't want to rely on, not everyone is going to think a robot's cool, nor should they, right? Really, like anytime you're using a robot somewhere, it should just create a better experience outside of its novelty, right? Anytime you're relying on novelty, you've
I imagine that the like early adopters will enjoy your robot.
I hope that we have built a service where every early adopter hates the robot.
Really?
100%.
Why?
Because that means that we're like giving so much value to people that like they're using it despite the automation. But we're just giving them so much value, right? Yeah. If 80% of the people are there love the robot and the first thing they tell people is, oh, it's like a robot comes out to you, then we haven't built the great experience.
Yeah.
The first thing people should tell us is like, I don't even think, I drive up, I grab my groceries, I go. It's like, you know, we're 10 minutes faster than any other grocery experience. Like, I don't know how many people pick up their groceries, but it's a huge industry. And really every single other experience has a delivery window. You have to say what time you're going to go and pick up your groceries. And then if you miss that window, you got to reset another window. It's like super annoying. You're like, kind of like you're scheduling yourself.
So is this going to be something where you basically like pre-pack all of these totes and then as soon as someone arrives, their RFID tag says you're in the parking lot,
sends it out,
and it just sends it out to, and then maybe it like tells that person which lane to go in or something?
No. Or pick whatever lane you want.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Huh. We don't. We want you to be like as mindless as possible. You pull in, pull out. Kind of similar to a gas station. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Or a drive-through. Drive-through is a pretty mindless experience. Like we just want it to be effortless.
Yeah.
And we'll just keep pulling stuff out until it's as effortless as possible. So yeah, once you put in your order, just come whenever you want, and we'll have it ready.
That's awesome.
And that's the.
How do you think through which products to actually stock here versus not?
So when we decided to do this, we ran like a 3-week test where when we committed to it, we built a grocery delivery service in, I think we got it up in like 2.5 days.
Really?
We built a website. We scraped.
When was this?
I don't know, a couple months ago.
You just randomly decided to do this?
I don't know. I'm so bad with time. No, I just like, we had to touch the customer. Yeah. Right? Like we needed to learn things ASAP. Was that the most efficient way to learn things? I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about you is that you like, I remember from our last interview where you just talked about, I don't know how many different projects you just randomly decided, okay, I'm going to start doing this. And then you just started doing it. And, maybe you decided to stop working on it at some point because it just wasn't worth working on, but you just actually took action. Whereas most people don't take action. Yeah.
I mean, that's not always a good thing.
Yeah. Biased action.
But I think like if someone is biased for action and someone is calculated, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to bet on the person who's biased for action, right? Their likelihood to hit things are much higher. I think like the best performers in the world are a bit more calculated, like their hit rate's a lot higher. But under those like top 1.0001%, there's a bunch of people who are just biased for action, and then you're back to the calculated. I think like there's a bell curve of, at the very, very, very far end, there's insanely calculated people. But even then, like they're very biased for action. They're very quick to admit that something's not gone wrong. I think like in testing the grocery delivery, like we built the site, We got in the hands of a bunch of people. We went and handed out flyers like we were offering 15-minute delivery, and we were offering it for free. We just wanted to like create a lot of orders. Yeah. We had scraped 7-Eleven and CVS's inventory, and that's what we were offering. We were like, drive to 7-Eleven, grab the orders, and deliver it to people.
And this was a few months ago?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. How many orders did you get?
We got one.
You got one order? Who was the order from? You're like, Mom?
No. Just some random guy. It was amazing. Yeah. And I think that's where it was like, it wasn't.
How many flyers did you hand out?
I don't know. Hundreds, a bunch, like a stupid amount. But we learned so much from it. That one order, we learned nothing on the one order. I don't know why that guy ordered, but like ultimately, I do know why that guy ordered. Because we had the thing he wanted. And what we realized is like when we were watching people like go and search and look for their thing, there was just like, if you didn't have one item, you were shot in the foot.
This is the same thing that I've seen with like Sam Walton and Walmart. It's something like, I think Walmart has some crazy number of like 130,000+ different items in the store, and all like 4%. There's a whole bunch of items where they have to have them because one person will go to that store instead of the other store because it has that item. Whereas, but no one else buys that item. But it's worth having just so that it can get the extra few $100s from that one customer.
Yes.
And so having, ironically, having like only 20, 30,000, different items in a store may make it very difficult to get people in.
So how would you solve that? How would you make sure you 100% solve that? And we kind of arrived on this idea through this process, but what we did is like we as soon as we have an idea, we go in. I have this big group of people that I've kind of curated over time that I know give me exact what's in their head answers as soon as I say something. So I was like, I say something, tell them exactly what you think like right now.
They're just like shit testers kind of thing?
Yeah, it's more like they are very connected to their immediate emotional reactions to things. So there's no like the worst people to get feedback on an idea from sometimes is other people in the business. Because they're aware of so many variables. Right. When you mention an idea, if we work together and you mention like a podcasting idea, I would immediately, the first thought is how do I implement this, and then is it a good idea? Like I just can't get that out of my head, right? And so it's like you're so biased. But anyways, I have these people that I go to that is like you take ideas to, and I know they can give me like immediate emotional reactions of what they're feeling. And
it's like useful feedback.
And this was the way that we ended up solving this problem tested crazy well with that demographic. And Cannon's got a similar process, and like it tests really well with him. And everyone we've tested it with is like, okay, I think there's something here, something we can uniquely provide and make better over time. So how would you solve the problem? There are key items, especially in grocery, that if you don't have, you will lose everyone's business. However, what that has also created is a fragmented system where people have a few of those items at a few different places. So the amount of stores that people are going to is a lot higher than you would think, because like, especially families are going to multiple different stores because there's a few of those things at each place. So we're starting a new grocery concept. We scraped every single grocery store, all their products, and we created this subset of the, I think it's 42,000 of the most the most stocked items. That's in the middle. These are like Oreos and
Doritos, and Coca-Cola,
and like the little packages of meat. Like we've got that subset, and that's what we're gonna store.
I'd imagine also like fresh, groceries and stuff. Fresh vegetables.
They're staples. So there's like common things that you just have to have. So just talking all those here. Those are available within 5 minutes of ordering. So as soon as you order, you can come pick it up in the next 5 minutes, or take 3 days and come pick it up in 3 days, whenever.
And you just basically like will there be like a Pipedream app where you just say, okay, I'm showing up in 5 minutes and here's my grocery order?
Well, Pipedream would be a horrible name for a grocery store. Right. So we went through hundreds of names and landed on Goods. So Goods is the brand. It does have kind of like this retro feel. People have been loving the brand. I'm just going to go to Goods. To pick up your order. That's where you get your goods. Is at Goods.
Exactly.
We have good goods. And eventually, we know we'll do all goods, and we won't do services. That's where we draw the line.
That's going to be
Goods,
another
though.
Pipedream spinoff, like subsidiary.
No. We're not
No,
touching
no.
services. Only goods.
Only goods.
Yeah. So, So how would you solve the problem? We have the top 42,000 are here, stored here. Though there are key items that are in these other stores that people care about. How would you fix that?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Okay.
I imagine that there's probably a lot of items at Walmart that you can't even stock here because it doesn't really fit in a tote. And so you probably just immediately take out all of those.
Not in the grocery category.
Not in the grocery. I mean, okay, so Walmart has a bunch of other items though. So like how many is it typically in a, grocery part of Walmart? 'Cause that must be
how
way
many
fewer
SKUs
than
are they holding in the grocery?
130,000.
I think it's in the 60s.
60,000.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so you're
think
able to
so.
hit most
Cannon
of
would
it,
know. I don't know.
like 2/3, right? Ish.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. I think you'd probably want to take a more convenience store approach, because you already know that people will show up without, just for a few items, select items.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
How did you think about it?
There's one way we thought about it. Going on the there's a blend of grocery. It's like convenience grocery. It's maybe like where there's stores that kind of sit in between like they're a corner mart, right? They have like a good allotment of things and some like cool things. A lot of startups have gone that way. I think the parallels would be like DoorDash's Dash Mart has done really good. GoPuff would be that. GoPuff has expanded. They're maybe closer to like actual grocery now. They've expanded their SKUs. The problem when you sit there is you kind of end up taking that like 30, people, it's 30-70. So 70% of like someone's grocery shop happens on like very prescriptive grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And then when they need like filler items, that sits in the 30%. So convenience grocery fills that 30% void, 30-ish%. I think there's just so much danger in there because you can't really build a habit.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money in attention to make sure you're on their mind when they need something really quickly. But it doesn't necessarily build brand loyalty. And you see that in like, like even internationally, the companies that are doing quick commerce where they're just focused on that core set, it's really tough. You have to constantly win that customer over and over and over again. And it's really expensive. Now, if you look at, and then that's where initially we thought going. That's like a well-worn track, like it works, right? And it's easier to do that. What we really wanted to push ourselves is how do we capture someone's entire grocery spend? We want to be that 70% and then earn the 30%. Because if you can capture that 70%, you're winning that customer.
Yeah.
You are winning that customer, and the ability for you to win them in other categories goes way up. When you're convenience, people see you as convenience. They see you as lower quality. They see you as putting a premium on top of the dollar because you're creating convenience. What we wanted people to see is we are not putting a premium. We are keeping those costs low, and you can trust us with that full grocery shop. Because if we can win you there, then we can. What we want people to see the portal as is kind of like an everything store.
Yeah.
Right. I can go get a lot of things there, right? And that builds kind of the network effects as other people come onto the network, as we, stock other people's wares in here, and we do 3PL for them. People see that portal as something you can go, and there's a lot of options. But
are you going to try to do like ready to eat meals as well? Because I'd imagine that like if people, if you're buying from Amazon, it's not quite the same. But if you're like showing up, the Costco hot dog is a massive driver of why people go to Costco. Same with like the rotisserie chicken.
Totally. That's what we call the special item. Every good retail play has like this weird special item.
So is it going to be like Kirkland's signature, but it'll just be like special goods, like Kirkland's signature version?
We're locking. We have some really good ideas for the special item. I think we'll wait until we open before we talk about them. But like, there's some really good ones that I'm excited about. You have to have a special item. That's super important. So ready to eat meals, we're not going to roll out with, but we have a really good plan to do in Q4.
Okay.
It's a little different than you would think, but
wait. So are you saying like in Q3 of 2025, people will be able to pull up to a portal here, and get a grocery order
So the Gantt chart has us at 55 days. We have a clock in the office
What?
that is like 55 days till we open. So like there are things that could go wrong. Like I told you, we've been so tight on that schedule, so tight on it. Something could go wrong.
Yeah.
From here, but the things that really could hurt us are behind us. So like the big milestones that like probably like when we laid out the plan, we're like,
Do you want to
there's
talk
some
about
things in
a
there that
few
we
of
could
those?
not do.
Do you want to talk about a few of the things where
permitting?
Yeah, permitting.
Getting commercial lease. We built this. We're building this like gorgeous canopy that is going to sit out there over the portals, and it's gorgeous. And we didn't think we could afford it, and so we ended up just calling like so many canopy companies to find someone who could build it for us for like a cost that made sense. And we finally did, and I like could to this day cannot believe we're getting it at the cost that we're getting it at. But we just like,
what's it made out of?
It's made out of just like steel, and then there's this type of Starbucks uses it a lot, and we actually the Tennessee Titans Stadium almost took the entire supply for it, and so we had to like
get into the
we had
deal.
to fight.
Geez.
Peyton, who does he's had a product for goods, and he just had to call so many people. He wanted this type of it's aluminum. So it's like really weather resistant, but it looks exactly like what it's gorgeous, what Starbucks uses for their wood elements a lot of the times. The Tennessee Titans Stadium was taking like so much of the supply, so we had to like really fight for a supplier. And there are a lot of things that like, we're not gonna like half-ass something, you know. Yeah. We wanted to,
if you're gonna do it really well.
Full and a half-ass something,
yeah.
Right? So the lights that we were using, to the temperature, to like the way it laid out, like we didn't want to make any consolidations because we wanted to do it quickly. We wanted to both do it quickly and do it really well. So there's some of those that was just like, the timeline seems really tight to do that really well. But everyone like just cranked. Peyton, who's head of product, is so good at paying attention to details and making quick on the fly decisions, and like the brand he created and the feeling he's created around the entire experience.
It's just really special.
So good. We're working with a neon sign company here in Austin.
Oh, really?
To get the like this gorgeous retro neon sign. Are
you going to have something similar to like In-N-Out's massive, arrow pointing towards the restaurant?
Yeah,
except
totally.
for just pointing people in the direction of
exactly.
the portals.
Yep.
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
same feel, right?
Yeah.
That we want it to feel like something that is just like so much joy and so much craft went into each piece of this experience.
Like someone really cared in every aspect of the customer journey kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like down to like product photos.
Mm-hmm.
I want Peyton to get his day in the sun when he releases this, but like product photos are like, there's something you don't realize wear on you when you use an app. Like if you go and you look at product photos, they're necessary evil. They need to be like, high contrast. You need to be able to be like, there's so much information packed into the label of a product, or the way that it looks, that you need to expose all that information to the user. So you really can't get away from them. And they're just like, product photography lighting is like really harsh, and all the different products have a different brand identity, so they all end up looking different. And just on a phone, it's like, it takes a lot of kind of like eye strain to like look at it correctly. He found this way to make them look gorgeous, and it's just like such a joy to swipe through and look at all the products.
Is it like completely different than how you?
I've never seen anyone get anything close to this. It's like completely different. So the tough thing about like doing a new experience like this is it can't feel new, which is tough. Like there were some things we talked about, like
people have to just like intuitively get it.
Yeah. They need to intuitively get it, which means you need to keep it as close to current experiences as possible, but just the most joyful version of those new experiences, or of those old experiences. So like, what I wanted to do is I didn't want to charge people until they came and pick up their groceries. I just wanted you to be able to put things in the cart just throughout your day, especially if you like have a partner, right?
Yeah.
And all of you guys can just put things in the cart, and then just next time you're driving by the portals, just go and pick them up. You don't have to like push order. Just like, we're going to have them ready if they're in their cart. It will charge you.
Wait, so it'll just like recognize that you're in the parking lot, and then you'll just like prepare your order as is right then?
Yeah.
And you don't even need to technically click order.
That's what I wanted
to do. You just say add
to
to cart, and then when it shows you
just whenever you're ready to pick it up, just like
Wild.
that will, it'd be sick. And I do think it's like a better customer experience.
Yeah, it's one of those things where people are confused as hell the
They'll be
first
so
time,
confused.
but then like the next time. Is this one of those?
Well, we're not going to do it because, like, you know, and I wanted to do it, and this is where like, me and Canon, Canon just balances me so well. We have a really great partnership. He's perfect.
Do you
but
kind
he
of get
killed
super
it.
excited about things, and then I don't know, not necessarily reins you in, but like gives you some good perspective on is it possible to actually execute the thing?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I want to say that's not quite the relationship, but more times than not, maybe, yeah. But it's like you can't get that's too new.
Yeah.
People want to feel comfortable hitting checkout. That's just like what they're used to. So like that is off the table. But the way that we solved the product photo problem, and also there was like, you know, getting product photos is all the founders that we've talked to in the space of grocery delivery is just like getting the product photos is just such a nightmare. Getting them good, like he found such a good way to make those product photos beautiful, to get them easily, to make it like a very homogeneous, I think, if I'm using that word correctly, is like everything has like this same like brand feel, even though they're so different. So he crushed it. Like his obsession on getting this product
Just perfect looking,
just
as close to
a
perfect.
perfect customer experience, and just all of us is like, we will move heaven and earth if it means that it will be 1% better for customers. And I think what we're doing is building a playbook for all the people who want to fulfill through autonomous logistics with us. Is like we're creating a playbook that they can use to go and do the same thing. So Goods is just our anchor tenant brand, but all the portals that we're making in Austin and when we go to other cities, we want anyone who runs any concept out of any RFC or any store connected to the network to be able to borrow those same tips and deliver the same experience.
Crazy. Super cool. If you had to guess, like, let's run two different scenarios. One is things go extremely well. What does that look like? And then another is things go terribly wrong. What does that look like over the course of the next, like, let's say 12 months and 2 years?
12 months and 2 years?
Yeah.
I think it's. I think if anyone was looking at this, they would think, you know, they misestimated how difficult it is to be a retailer, and I don't think it will be that. Because me and Canon are obsessed with retailing. Oh, and both of us independently have been our entire lives. Like, the amount of time, even before going this way, just like we got into this because we love retail. We love people buying
just
things
like
and getting
studying.
It's just
like
like
Sam Walton, Jeff Bezos, those guys.
Costco. Yeah. I mean, Canon's the Walton expert, so he could tell you anything, right? We both love Costco. We can tell you like in any fact. And then Amazon, I love Amazon so much. Like I love everything they've done, and like their decision making. A lot of how we built the team and run the team is based on Amazonian culture. Just like it's such a noble industry because you're able to take advantage of new technology faster and better than anybody else, right? Because you're right there next to the customer. You can just, you know, integrate, especially with an engineering culture. Your ability to take new technology and integrate it really quickly in just the right way for the customer is better than anyone else, because the people making the technology and then selling it to retailers are missing the customer feedback loop that you need to make stuff really good and joyful to use. And the retailers don't understand the tech enough to know to what ends can they like implement it, like what are the edges, like pushing it to its limit. And you see that in just like Amazon's ability to they have created these fulfillment centers that are like alien tech, and they did it quicker than anyone because they both had the need of having to store a lot of things and deliver really quickly, but they also kind of saw what that technology was going to be able to do, so they were able to bet more than anyone else was going to bet on it because they knew what it could eventually be. And it's just like that blend of things you don't find unless, you know, you at least have a retail arm. I think like the one of the ones that gave us a lot of confidence was looking at Ocado. Ocado runs a grocery business in the UK. Ocado is they do warehouse automation. So you've probably seen them. It's the robots that sit on the
Yeah.
grid. Yeah.
On the like
Um,
ceiling, and they just
mhm.
like drop
Yeah.
little things in all these different totes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
sell that tech to grocers, but they also run a grocery business in the UK. And I don't know if like that tech is so far, for the grocery business, it's like the only tech that's really like exploded.
Yeah.
In terms of automation. And I think if they weren't pushing on both fronts, like it never would have got there because no one would have ever guessed how valuable it would be. And so if it goes wrong, I don't think it will be that. I think you are doing there's a lot of things that you are doing. So I think at any time you're running a business like that, like financing it from its infancy to its crawling stage is just difficult. So like that's probably, if it doesn't work, it's like probably that. It's really difficult time growing at the right pace. Trying to, overextending yourself.
Is there a danger to like scaling too fast? I'd imagine that the like ideal situation is you're scaling as fast as possible, that you can as fast as you can deliver an amazing customer experience
Yeah.
every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think there are people who really understand that calculus. Because like as we're if our plan is to put those portals out there once they're achieving kind of our 42 orders a day break even, then you want it to extend the network, a half mile this way and put portals a half mile this way. Now, if it's going really well and it's growing really fast, those portals should do just as good. The problem is that they're cannibalizing some of your demographic. Like some people will just start going there.
So you unlock new areas, but you also cannibalize,
yeah, especially because like we're building the network, they're connected. So the distance between the first two stores is different than like if you were running like a Chipotle. Like Chipotle in Mississippi has one store, and where were they in the?
I think
were they
they're
starting
like,
in San Francisco?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I don't think so. Anyways, let's say they started, in San Francisco. They say in the Mission. Like, they didn't, but if they did there, right, they wouldn't go and put one like a mile away, right? They'd be like on the other side of town or somewhere farther away to capture a new demographic. We don't in the early networks. You're geographically tied to where you're starting, so that second one's going to be, not too far away. Very quickly, though, you start to hit this critical mass where if you are also adding the services on top of that you're offering at those individual portals, your ability to like, once you have 10 portals, you're really close to a lot of people. So the value of having something in here and being able to get it out to those portals in under 5 minutes is huge. So you start to add more things here, which means, adding more portals get you to more people, which adds more, RFC volume. And those initial portals that are just like a half mile down the road are connected to so much that everyone around there is just like, they love going to this portal. So the flywheel
is great.
Once it starts spinning, it really spins.
Yeah.
And so I think the real challenge that we have is getting that flywheel to that point. And the way that I see it working is, we show people this never before tried customer experience. We show how much people love it. We show, the value of what we think is, I think when we talk about Pipedream, the robots are like a really fun piece to think about. Like they're really cool. The portals are kind of unique. So you kind of think about the thing that's like out there in the customer. What we think is going to be our biggest value is actually just the RFC. Like fulfillment centers are just inherently like difficult to run. And we want to hang our hat on the ability to, in 3 minutes, get your thing out the door. In whatever the modality. If that's like we're putting in the pipes, we're sending it into a portal, that's how. If we are putting it into a drone, it's 3 minutes and it's in the drone, it's out. That drone can get it done in, 8 minutes. If it's a self-driving car.
Why does like 3 minutes matter so much?
Because drones are so fast, right? Like all these other modalities can get things done so quickly. All of retail right now, like even like a micro fulfillment center is fulfilling things in like 10 minutes, right? Like 10 minutes is an eternity when the thing that's going to take it to the end point is going to get that done in 5, right? So we think like, especially as this industry advances, right now, there are businesses that are arbitraging on distance to your house, right? 7-Eleven is more likely to sell you a Coke than Walmart is from a frequency basis because they're closer to you. It's easier to get, right?
Yeah.
But as autonomy progresses, what ultimately it's going to matter is not when you're going through the app, you won't be looking at what's closest to you. Even now with DoorDash, like you don't look at what's closest to you, look at what's fastest.
Yeah.
So making sure that something can originate the quickest and get out of where it's stored matters a ton. And being under 3 minutes, I think, is going to be an industry standard. And takes like a totally different framework of thinking on how to do that. So that's what we want to hang our hat on. And I think what it will allow us to do is, if you look at what's like a hot consumer, like David Protein Bar.
Yeah.
I love this. They're sick. When they look at who do we want to fulfill our last mile fulfillment, we want to be able to offer David Protein Bar, take advantage of all the benefits of autonomy. We want people to go pick it up. We want people to have it delivered really quickly. We want them to look at Pipedream fulfillment and say, we want it to be there because they're both going to get it out the quickest. They're going to get it close to my customer and get it in their hands as fast as possible for as cheap as possible. So that's the war we're fighting. And so the kind of base layer of that is just you need a fulfillment center where you can get things out really quickly. Mm-hmm. And then you need to be able to get it as close to the customer as possible really quickly. And then you need to be able to have a method to get it into their hands as quickly and as cheaply as possible. And depending on your address or where you are in a city, like that changes. Like a drone is just going to crush in the suburbs. Yep. You can crush anywhere with a backyard.
In the high density areas.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Totally. And as infrastructure changes, like I think it will crush even in like, higher density downtowns. I think people maybe underestimate how easily you can adapt infrastructure for like really breakthrough technologies, which drones clearly are. And so we want to make sure that like that is what people are going to be demanding from fulfillment partners as autonomy explodes. So we want to make sure that we are, as it is very nascent now, building that capability so that when that happens, we're ready.
Yeah. What have been the biggest challenges just over the past year or so?
I think the biggest thing is just like how slow even like some of the more startup-y incumbents are. Mm-hmm. And it's not even necessarily like their fault, right? It's just like they're massive organizations. Their core business is crushing. Like anything you're doing that is like frontier, just like right now, like autonomous logistics is not AI.
No.
If it was, this would be different, right? But even look at AI now. AI is clearly massively here. And just the ability for incumbents to adopt it is so tough. I mean, Google invented the industry, and they have struggled so much to implement it. No, not at all. Maybe just now. Like it is, maybe just now they are. Like the Gemini's pretty great now. But it is just so tough for them to pivot, especially in hardware and retail where the amount of integration is like an order of magnitude more difficult than adding AI in the loop. Mm-hmm. And like your iterative process is much slower. Yeah, I think that's probably like I'm going to say a challenge. It's been the biggest surprise probably.
Yeah, it's just industry players not being willing or able to adopt new technology as fast as maybe they should be able to.
Yeah, and like, some of that, you got to lucky yourself and be like, that's a self-skill issue. Like, I'm sure we could speed them along faster. But then a lot of it, and like, I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but it's just like a lot of it, it's like, God, this is crazy. And then watching like, our industry partners struggle, people who are, we have partners who are like Fortune 10 and seeing them work with the same partners and struggle exactly as much as we are, was just like, oh man, that is crazy. Like, I think us and probably other people in the industry see this as such a paradigm shift. Like autonomous logistics is here. It's not even like not here yet or coming. Like no one knows when it's going to come. It's here. Like,
I mean, the cars are literally driving themselves.
Cars are driving themselves.
I took an Uber to get here.
How many millions of drone deliveries are happening every year? Like this technology is here. And the fact that people are not pivoting their entire businesses on it is bananas. The fact that there aren't like hundreds of startups who want to be like autonomous logistics retailers is crazy.
Well, I think the biggest thing is like if you have success stories that people can look to, then they can kind of say, all right, I'm going to be the next Jeff Bezos or whatever. But then if Amazon just eats the entire, market, then it's a little bit difficult. You can be GoPuff or you can be, Dashmart or whatever, but it's really hard. Whereas, with AI, it's not super hard to just like be on your computer coding up something and just tap into
I see what you're saying.
ChatGPT, right?
So your point would be like the amount of risk you take
Yeah.
trying to beat the incumbents is a lot lighter when it's software.
Right.
And so maybe it's like easier to try than see that people are successful against the incumbents, which creates, I think
there's a lot more case studies or, examples of people succeeding in software than there is in people succeeding in fulfillment or like, building a grocery store.
Yeah.
So it's really hard.
It's a good point.
Yeah. What are you most excited about?
Oh, I'm most excited about creating a great customer experience. I think that's uniquely. I think you've asked our partners. Like, I think we love to create great experiences. Be a good partner is our number one company value, and we just don't get to like flex it publicly a lot. But like that is the thing that I think more than anything at our core as a team we care about so much. Like, just I will.
Do you have a specific story that kind of represents that well?
Yeah. When we were boring under one of the roads, I wanted this story to come out some other way, but I'll tell it. There's others like this, but like when we were boring under one of the roads, when we started the Georgia project, we were using a construction crew that we ultimately fired, and we did it ourselves the rest of the way. And this was, I can't remember if this was when we fired them or maybe we fired them a little later, but it's not hard to drill under a road. Like, you do what's called a GPR. You just like ground penetrating radar. It's like a lawnmower. You walk across the road. It shows you where the stuff is. You mark it so you know where it is. You plan your route, and then you bore. And you just don't hit things. Not that complicated.
Yeah.
Our construction crew, and we should have supervised them more. That was 100% on us. Shouldn't have done that. But they went and marked. And then it rained, and the markings went away. And they said, well, if you think we remember where things are, let's just bore anyways. So they bored, and then they hit a gas line. Oh. And it's not that bad. Yeah. It's like they fix it, it's fixed in like 4 or 6 hours. The problem is it took out gas for every single business in the strip mall right next to it.
Oh, so just like pissed off a bunch of people.
Probably would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as they called us and let us know what happened, we had someone like around there, and so I called them and I was like, look, right now, go to every single business, and you walk in, you tell them like, hey, we hit this gas line, you're gonna be out, we are so sorry. We're gonna tell us, here's my number, tell us how much you make in 3 days, and then we're gonna get you that money tonight. And so he just went in, and like I think 15 minutes after it happened, he had talked to everyone, and everyone had his number, and they all text him how much money they make in a day, and we paid him. And it was back on that day. It was only like down for 3 hours, but we were just like, look, we impacted these people.
You wanted to go above and beyond.
Right. Yeah. And like, being down for a business sucks. Like, it means that people are coming and they're losing trust that you're going to be open because you just can't serve people. And it's like, that's a horrible look for businesses. Yeah. So we're just like, how do we fix this problem in a way where people hope the problem happens again? That's what we always try to do. How do we, and when we were, we had to convince some people here to let us take some of their parking spaces to like build the experience that we wanted. And so when we go into it, it's like, how do we take parking spaces so well that people want us to take more parking spaces? How do we like make so many give them back more than we're taking? So
not only make the customers happy, but also make the people that you're like leasing the property
everyone,
from, and
yeah. You want them to know that like if something happens, you're gonna above and beyond fix it to the point that they're hoping something bad happens because they benefit so much from it.
Yeah,
right. We wanted people to be like, I hope they hit another gas line. And so it's like, I mean, it's just something that like, I think Cannon's one of the most ethical people I've ever met. Like, he's just his love for people and like moral compass is just like, it's so high, and it's just innately like, I love Cannon to death, like a brother. His girlfriend told me a story the other day. Sometimes he'll just like go throw her bathrobe I hope he's okay with me telling this. He'll throw her bathrobe in the dryer and then hang it back on the hook when she's done with her shower, so it's nice and warm when she gets out of the shower, which is just like, How sick is that?
I mean, that's like the right type of co-founder to have.
Oh, dude, yeah, 100%. Yeah, Kanan would like lay down on a bed of nails, so like it was easier for me to walk on. Like he's just like
Really there for you.
dude, he's there for everybody, 100%. But it's like true of like everyone on the team is just like if one of us are moving, like everyone's showing up to like move them. That's just like they are people who care about the people around them. And so with yeah, just be able to like take that to like we don't really benefit from that in terms of a flywheel. Whereas like Amazon really benefits from that in terms of the flywheel. Walmart does. Like these businesses that have customers where if you treat someone above and beyond, it turns into more business. Like I'm just really excited to like
That's the
add
business
that
that
to
you
the flywheel.
want
Right.
to create.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And it was one that we knew we were gonna have to like, even if we work with partners, we're gonna have to do that for them in order to like, you know, make this new experience work. I think that's true of any autonomous logistics provider is like you have to think so much for the retailer.
Yeah.
And eventually we were just like, what we're thinking so much for the retailer that we're basically doing the retailer's work. We are so close to just like, you know, being the retailer that like we would have, and like people would say no to our ideas so many times where it's like, no, this is better for the customer. We know it is like, and they'd be like, no, we don't want to do that. And you know, our ability to own that entire process early on and prove to people that like caring that much about the customer works and then giving them the playbook to go do that themselves. That's a perfect formula.
Yeah. So I know you said that like when I came last year, you were at something like 12 people and now you're still at 12 people. Like, what has it been like to have a super tight knit team that's all just like super laser focused on making this first store or first, you know, distribution center happen?
Yeah.
What's that been like?
I'm just like, I love, you know, working with a really high talent density team is just the best. And it doesn't take many people to get out of that talent density. So that's just something that we care about a lot. And we're not always perfect. We messed up a million times at it. And sometimes I've been the you know, the talent holding us back. And, you know, sometimes it's been other people. But it's just like caretaking a very dense group of people who are all really good. I mean, it's just like running a sports team, right? Like you need, to run a good sports team, you need two things. You need talent, and then you need talent that works well together. And it just takes one person to ruin that, right? Like in sports, they call it like someone's like what's like a locker room toxin, right? Or like they're poison for the locker room. It just takes one person to get everything off. It just takes one person who misses some threes on a basketball team to make your star player be like,
Just
I don't want to play
worse.
with this person, right? Yeah, like I want to
Be less happy.
Everyone wants to be somewhere where, you know, like the perfect spot to be, I feel like, is the third best person somewhere. Because you get to learn from, you know, the other
two.
people. Yeah. They push you, and then you kind of want to be in that group of people who you're not necessarily doing all the very, very, very hard pressure work. But you're doing that sometimes. You're relied on a lot of the times. You're seen as a leader. And you want kind of like everyone to be tied for third around you. You don't want anyone to be worse than you. Working somewhere where someone's worse than you is like, what have we been doing? Right? Like this is very valuable time of my life that I'm giving 9 to 5. 5 days a week. And then especially if you go over that, it's like, that's an insane amount of your life that you're giving to something. Like to do that around people who are not as good at you sucks.
So you kind of want like a team of people who are actually the second best or first best, but they all think they're the third best, and then they all kind of like look up to each other in that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, a great way to describe it. Yeah. And we had a really good bar for that early on, where it's like for our first 8 hires, we wanted to. We waited a long time to hire like, you know, our first, second, third employee, because it's like we wanted each person to come on to be so good that you look
it's
at
like stepping up
to an nth degree. Like we wanted it to be embarrassing that they joined, like for them, right? Well, you're like, and then you look at like the rest of them, and be like, who's this person working with? These people suck compared to this person, and like we accomplished that, and then we eased off of that, and we shouldn't have. And so we had to get back to it.
Why did that like change happen? And then how did you figure that out and course correct?
Because you just end up with so much work that you're like, we got to hire someone. This is how it happens every single time. It's like you end up, you're like, okay, we're not going to find this rock star. This person doesn't exist. You think this every single time. And then people, especially people outside the hiring process, are like, We just need someone. So these guys look great. I'm reading these resumes. Some of them look really good. These guys are really good. Are they the best? Would they be the best in the startup? Would they come on? It's like, no, but it's close. And
It's
the
just
danger
enough
is
to
there,
like
right?
lower the bar just
A
slightly,
little bit,
and
yeah.
you do that a few times, and
Yeah.
suddenly you're on a team with
Especially
like
when
A
you're-
minuses and B pluses.
Totally. Like the A
Right.
minuses is where it kills you. Especially when you're looking at a whole group of people, and especially when you start to get people who are very well credentialed in there. And even though like you do your best to reject it, and it's just like there's people that rise above the credential people to the point that you mark the credential people here or like very high, right? Because they're credentialed, even though they're not a fit. You know they're not a fit. But like the danger for us has been like you mark the credentialed people here, and then there's someone like this no-name person who's like a little better than them. And what you got to do is look at them against the team. That's the barometer. But then you start to be like, we've obviously found all the people we're going to find. And they're like really well credentialed, and this person's better. This is the best person we're going to find. They're like clearly better than the well credentialed people. That is good enough. And that is where we failed the most. To the point that like we're looking for a growth person right now. And we had someone who's like killer. And it was just like, but they're not better than our bar
For quality.
For quality. Our bar for quality right now is the best person on the team right now, especially on that end, would be Kuzi. She was like top of her class at Warden. She ran Northeast Uber rides. She's had like, and she is unbelievable. She can just do literally every single thing you need. And it's like the people we were looking for growth came from like all the places you want a growth person from, but they weren't better than Kuzi. So we're just like, we're just gonna run without a growth person until we find that person.
How long did it take to find her? Months. 5 months. But as soon as we found her, once you find that person, it's just like very first time meeting them, you're like, that's it. Yeah.
Finding those like diamonds, you never second guess a diamond, ever. We've never, when we found that person, the first time meeting them, we're like, God, we got to find a way to work with them.
Great person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's ever a question, it's always been kind of wrong. There's been like a couple, there are a couple anomalies to that. Where we brought on someone who is not better than the rest of the team, but then they worked them ways into it.
Yeah.
But the anomalies have not been worth the ones that didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any other awesome like stories that I just wouldn't think to ask about?
So we've always had this role open called the Wildcard role, and we had it open for like a year and a half, and just a lot of people apply for it, and it's just like, okay, there's no reason to hire this wildcard. What we want is just someone who's like an animal, right? Just unbelievably good at everything. And our thesis was, if you can find that person, you probably won't have them long, but like the amount of time you have them is going to be worth it. And like we just lucked into Ahmed so much. Someone had recommended that he go work for a company like us, and so he applied, and I didn't see his email at first, but then I was reviewing some emails and I found it and just like read his pitch for why you should work, and I was like, this is the guy. Oh my gosh, this is the guy. This guy is insane.
We have to hire him.
Dude, have to. And then like, oh my gosh, like I was so grateful. Like Ahmed helped with so many things, but like when we interviewed him, he was like ready to rock, and he had come with like in classic Ahmed fashion, he had come with all these ideas, and he'd hired someone to render them really high quality. So he came with like this really well curated deck of like his ideas of like what he like. My favorite thing about him is like he came with all these ideas on what we were doing wrong,
right,
and how to fix them. And that's all the best people have come unprompted telling us what we did wrong, like to the point that if someone just walked in, and you know what, I don't even think this will ruin the method. If someone comes in and walks in and tells us, this is what you're doing wrong, I think we are inclined to hire them on the spot.
If they're this far into the podcast, the likelihood that they're a good person is probably pretty high.
Yeah, someone's fighting
dropping the alpha
ums,
at the end.
Then, but yeah, just like he just told us like, I think you guys are doing these things wrong, and here I did this really high quality render of the things that I think you can do better, and it was just like, oh, this guy rocks so hard. And we were working through like, it was kind of like a weird part-time contract. We'd never done a part-time contract before. And so we were trying to figure it out. And he just moved from New Jersey to Texas before we'd even had the contract done. So he was like there on day one because he wanted to be there day one. He wants to do things right so much, and he will go above and beyond to make sure he's doing that thing the right way. And just like he is such a clear thinker on things. But he will like, no one's going to get a cheaper price than Ahmed. Ahmed will, his methods for, I'm sure he's fine with me telling him this, but like I've borrowed so much from Ahmed, like his ability to get contractors down on a price. If we needed something, he would go, I think this is his method. He would go on like Google Maps and he'd reverse rank service providers by the amount of ratings, reviews, assuming that the people with the least reviews were the most desperate for work, which is 100% correct. And then he would just start at the top. And you have his phone out, and he just dial. Hi, I need this, and I need it for this much. Can you do it? And if they said no, you would just hang up and just call the next one. You just run down the list till someone agreed. And then if the price he was starting at was here, and then he'd just keep going lower and keep pushing them all the way down until it was just like unbelievable price. And then the person would always work for us for that price. It's just like his ability to like push people all the way to what the thing costs,
just the
and create a great
level is very,
experience anyways. And his like bar for the people he works with is so high that if that service provider did not provide us the best service, we're never working with them again. And he is like, he will never, like they are done. And then, but once he finds someone that he who
just give him
does
all
that
the
work, all the work. Yeah.
Guys, all right,
so
well,
good.
You definitely sold me on like going and interviewing him.
Oh, dude, if someone's gonna be the next Elon, it's
him.
Oh,
well, what was funny to me
easily.
is because I had seen like a few renders of the stuff that he's building, and I was just like, cool, it looks like a SPAC deck, like great. But then I went and showed up in person, and I was like, oh, it's here, right here. Like I have, and then there's like a video of it actually just plowing dirt, and I was like, this is interesting.
Yeah,
it's all autonomous.
Totally. So many people have asked me like, he says his timelines are aggressive, and people are like, can he actually do it? I'm just like, you gotta believe in him. Like if there's one person to bet on, you should bet on Ahmed. He's gonna get it done every single time. He's gonna get it done.
Yeah, I'm super curious. I saw him on like Twitter maybe a day or two ago where he's basically like, I'm creating a list of all the family offices or something like that, and I'm just gonna call, get in touch with every single one of them.
Yeah. 100%.
Raise money that way.
Yeah, he's an animal.
Yeah, crazy dude. If you had to like think about which traits are probably most important to you right now, and like that you most highly value, agency obviously, and just like getting shit done,
in like myself or in
yourself and in general, like for people that you want to work with.
Yeah, agency's there. Canon calls it giving a shit. I think giving a shit is the number one quality. Just like caring a lot. Because people who care a lot about all different type of facets, right? You want an engineer who gives a fucking shit about
what they're doing.
Everything.
Yeah.
They want them to give a shit about the customer. You want them to give a shit about performance. You want them to give a shit about their workspace being clean. You want them to like give a shit about, and they're not going to give a shit about everything, but they're going to give a shit about things, and they're going to give enough shits that they will catch things, right? That's the key.
Like pushes you towards perfection, even if you can't ever hit it.
Yeah. Totally.
Is that part of why you want someone who, or you're inclined to like someone who comes in and says, I see what you're doing, I like it, but it's not perfect. Here's why.
No, more people who are like, I think it's this, right? Like even feeling like you need to prepend something with a like, I see you, even though most people do, but like. You want people who are just like so free with their ideas and challenge things, even if it's like socially unacceptable. And it's tough to find, those people who also are like incredibly empathetic and understand how people like view things. But like they're there, right? You can find them. Ahmed's one of those people. Ken's one of those people. It's like a lot of the people at Pipedream are. But yeah, exactly. Because you want an engineer who's like working on like the person who's part of running the Otter platform. You want them thinking about like the customer experience of the portal, because there's a customer experience of the portal they could create if they change something on the Otter that makes the portal do something a little better, that creates a better customer experience. You want them to pitch it. You want them to see specs for something and just be like, it's 15 seconds. Like, why isn't it 12? Or vice versa, be like, do people care about 15? Like, maybe you should 30 and we can save this much money because we're making it 30 seconds instead of 15. You want people to like care so much that they do the curious exploration themselves, and they just can't live with themselves without saying something. That's like the key. You want them to fight through, like any company builds up this political resistance to people challenging ideas. And you want the more people you have who care so much that they're going to fight through it. That creates really great things.
Yeah.
I mean, we've caught ourselves a million times because someone just like, that sucks. This needs to be better. And like, the nice thing about that too is they care about it being really good. And so when they disagree,
it's for like
really
a right reason. And
it can be, but like they also like will disagree and commit, right?
Yeah.
It was like, we need to change this thing about Otter because we can create this customer experience. Then it's like, okay, that sucks. And it's like all on me to do, but like it creates a better customer experience and I care about that. So yeah. We'll do it.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
What do you think we could be doing better outside looking in? Because you're in a unique position where it's like, we've gone deep dive 2 years in a row, but like most of the time you're not here and you're just like seeing things online. So like,
I think the most important thing is just building the first thing as fast as possible, getting it out there, getting people through the door, and figuring out the kinks. Like, I think if you have customers and you have some experience, then you can figure out what's working, what's not working, and then you can iterate on it. But if you don't, if it's all just like theoretical, it's all theoretical.
Yeah.
And so I think probably the most important thing in my mind, if I was running this, would be number of days until we actually have customers arriving at our portals.
Yeah.
And they're picking up packages. It may be not even that many. It might be like 10,000 items or, instead of 42,000, it's like, do we actually have to have 42,000 items to have a few customers?
Yeah.
Right. But just working out kinks that way would be, in my mind, the most like logical thing to focus on.
Yeah, totally.
What about you? What's the thing?
54 days till we open. 54 days.
So this is going to be
I think
like
it was 6 hours when I left the office.
This is going to be packed
4 hours
with products. All this stuff.
Yeah.
In 54 days, less than 2 months.
Unless we run into like the city inspection, we fail that, or like something like that, something outside of our control that.
But
causes a delay.
There are people like picking up packages. In the next 2 months.
Yeah. We do the whole grand opening, and
yeah,
people are picking it up. So
how fast are you going to go from this location? Let's say it does really well. You hit your 42 mark per day. Is it wait? Is it 42?
42 a day.
Ironically, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, magical number, life, universe, and everything. So you need to get 40 packages.
That's the answer.
Amazing. How fast are you going to move and to get like the second iteration of the distribution center?
So we're going through like the permitting process right now.
Is it also going to be based in Austin?
Yeah. We'll start going that way. On the network. So this lies on the network we're building, and then we'll just start going that way. We'll do 1 5-mile loop, and then we'll do another 5-mile loop that way, and then we'll do a 5-mile loop that way. So there's like health metrics. It's not so clear as like once we hit 42, like, clearly we should grow. I think there's health metrics that we want to be hitting. We want to make sure that we're retaining people. Like if we're turning people, then it sucks, right? Like anyone can get people to come somewhere one time, but building the habit, right? If we are creating the habit and people are using us, and our word of mouth quotient, like every time we retain a customer, how many new customers 3 months from now is that creating?
Have you considered offering people, I don't know if tours is the right way to think about it, but like educating them if they want to learn about how it all works? Because I feel like that might be a big part of the Salesforce thing, is if people say, I just toured this like wacky new thing where I can just order and it all shows up in this nice little box and I just drive through and pick it up. But I
was looking at some old
cool.
GoPuff commercials or like ads that they did, and they did that. It was just someone packing an order. So like, I think it was effective because they did a ton of those.
Yeah, it's funny because like the best way to sell food isn't by showing like this perfect plate. It's like, here's the cooking process.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you make it really cool, and I don't even think you have to have people see the order when they arrive, but if they just know how it works on the back end.
So we're going to do that on content. Cool. I think the content's maybe better than tours. That's a good idea though.
Yeah.
Allowing people to come and do a backroom tour. We'll try it.
The only reason I would say tours, and I think content's a great idea as well, but like the reason for tours is because the people that are actually coming are extremely high intent. You know, they are the people that care
That's
enough,
true. That's a
which
good point.
means you get the like early evangelists.
That is a great point. All right, dude, we'll do it. Yeah,
All right.
that's a great idea.
Okay.
One more thing.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you solve the because I think this is a big piece of it, right? How do you solve there's something at Costco that I have to have, and I can't switch from Costco because like I gotta get this thing.
Yeah, it's like Kirkland's
There's something
signature.
at like
They're not selling
this
it
is
anywhere
actually we almost didn't do Austin
else.
because Austin has the highest we think Austin has the highest affinity rating for one grocer than any other city. HEB, like Austin loves HEB to the point that other grocers won't come here or won't like grow here because they're just like
You
HEB
just don't want to
has
compete
one
against that brand
because
loyalty.
HEB is incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like incredible grocer. But yeah, so how do you solve that problem? So the way that we ended up solving it was in the early days of like discount retailers. There's no way to like gauge is it actually cheaper than my grocery store? Like I don't know, right? I'm so locked into my grocery store. So they created price matching.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll just match the price. If we're higher, we'll match it, right? So you at least know that it is similar to the lowest price, and then some will be lower, right? That creates the trust that okay, that actually is a discounter. They actually are discounting. I can trust that. So on selection, where selection matters, we are going to run a program called multi-cart. So everything that we store here will be available in 5 minutes. And then once a day, we'll go batch orders from other places and bring them here and put those products in. So if someone right now is going to Costco and HEB and like a specialty grocer, we'll go get those specialty items for them. And then they're just picking it all up in one place.
Wait, so you're kind of pulling like the early Amazon where, you know, it says like we have 2 million titles, but then like some number of those titles, they have to, you know, pretend order 10, 9 books that aren't even in stock. And then one of that very esoteric item, have it all shipped. The 9 don't. Do you know about that early Amazon
for
story?
Sure. Yeah, totally. And when we came up with that, we realized like, oh, that is really similar. But I think it's just because that's what you have to do if you want to create the best customer experience.
But I also think that people will just love it. I think they'll find it
hilarious.
Love it,
dude.
You know, like more that they enjoy it, the more they'll talk about it. Like I think what's that like Sam Altman line where you have to get you have to make something so good that people will spontaneously tell their friends about it.
Yes.
And unless you hit that,
that's one of the health metrics that we need to get right? We need to create something so good that every time someone comes, it creates 2 new people to come.
Yeah.
And if we can nail that, right? If we can nail 1 to 2, then that's really all you need. And if you have like some form of retention through there, then you got it. So I think that is like the ability to go get, organic stuff from Whole Foods and then pull in, bulk diapers from Costco and then do the rest of it. You can just pick it up in one place or have it delivered all together. I think that is like a killer app. And from talking to people, people have loved it. So we'll see. We'll see if it actually is. But that's where we're going to start. And we're just going to keep doing things like that until we're creating the best grocery experience. Because like I think where retail is tough is if you don't have the best experience, you die.
Yeah.
Because everything else is so difficult.
Yeah.
So if you can achieve the best experience, it's still difficult, but it's possible. And then if you can like fight through that difficulty, then the upper bounds on a retail business is almost infinite. Yeah. It's one of the best businesses to run if you can make it work. So that's the bet. But yeah, that's how we ended up solving the key item issue, which I think is like the biggest issue.
Yeah.
For switching to
you're just time constraining it and saying like, hey, if you want these items, you have to show up at this time.
This is like
5
a
to 6
second-class
p.m.
citizen.
or something like
that.
Yeah.
And I think are
you just gonna have like a part of this distribution center that's just dedicated to storing those items?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like just an order. Yeah.
I guess it's over there now.
And I imagine like if you're doing that, then you only actually need enough space to store 120 orders, right? Maximum, right? At
a little more.
Okay.
It depends on what your rate is, but you want to hold it for like a weekend plus, because you want people to just be able to come whenever they want. So I think I have to ask Ken. I think the amount of the max days we'd hold it would be a week.
For most items, yeah. There's like some ready to eat things that you just like gotta do same day.
We'll have full cold chain and like we'll have freezers and refrigerators. So however long something will last in a grocery store will last in here.
Cool.
But yeah, I think the secondary benefit of that is you're creating, two types of citizens in our ecosystem. Ones that are like freakishly available, and then some that are going to take a little longer. And I think what you encourage people to do is like these other retailers, they have an option. This is similar to what Amazon did. If we start doing a lot of volume out of those stores, there's a high incentive for them to just
work with you,
move their inventory in here.
Yeah.
And then we can do that fulfillment for them, and offer that same value. Because like there is the merchandising capabilities that those retailers have are like, they're so good at it. There's some things that incumbents do that like you can't touch. Like we cannot touch someone's merchandising. That merchandising they do, finding those products and getting them to customers, just like incredible work.
Yeah.
So we don't want to like copy that. We want to enhance that and make it as good as possible. So I think that like handover from those retailers to working with us will be pretty smooth.